When we were discussing this, somebody came, oh, you have a privacy, please? Thank you for bringing it up. Alrighty, we will get started with the July 15th Planning Commission meeting. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Katie, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Baker?
Here.
Bilk?
Here.
Cox?
Here.
Frazone? Here. Hutchinson?
Here.
Olson?
Here.
Hyatt? Here. Upholzer? Wood?
Here.
Do we have a motion to excuse absent members?
We actually have none.
Oh yeah, I didn't look around.
City
Awesome.
administrator.
That means people aren't having enough fun while it's hot out, unfortunately. Do we have public comment for matters on the agenda? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Be looking for a motion for approval of the previous meeting minutes of June 17th, 2025.
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We don't, well, you sent some documents out. Are you gonna cover that in the, not on the agenda, or
Yeah, I think we can keep those for the DDA discussion if you.
for the DDA?
Okay with that?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Great.
Okay. So we have no acknowledgement of correspondence. Do we have public comment for matters that are not listed on the agenda?
Just because it's timely, I get to see Jane back to back, as well as Jim and other commission members. Zoning Ordinance Committee is rocking and rolling. Jane, do you want to give them just a high level kind of update on where we're at? I know we're targeting coming back to this commission, so that way they're prepared to know what's coming.
Yeah, we met last night. We thus far have looked at the district requirements, both in terms of uses as well as dimensional regulations, and building out some of those use requirements a little bit more fully, as well as adding some landscaping standards and streamlining fence requirements, waterfront setbacks, as well as screening requirements for mechanical equipment. We'll get into, with the committee, some of the other issues that are outstanding are outdoor storage, parking lot requirements, and a few other miscellaneous items. And so the draft will kind of come together after all of that, but good progress. And I'm still hoping to have a draft for this body to consider in August, at least for initial review.
I just want to thank Jane for playing an awesome leadership role in that process. Commissioner Bilk and Commissioner Baker for sitting on our committee amongst the broader members. I think it'd be incredibly advantageous for the Planning Commission to have a evolved and up-to-date set of zoning ordinance language as you review matters that are very relevant to the future. Second thing, since it's not on the agenda, I'll comment on now. I know the commission has raised a couple topics that are of importance. One is enforcement of ordinances related to signs and making sure they are within scope of the commission requirements. I want to say, I know I sent a few emails out to everybody, and I know Chief Bullard and Ordinance Officer LaCourse have been actively working on that topic. Here, if you have any questions or lingering concerns, but we want to make sure we close the loop on that matter. Stop there and see if there's any feedback.
Any update? I mean,
They've been enforcing all of the inventory they've taken and working with the respective business owners, and any sort of matters that would require updates specifically would come through the commission as appropriate.
so the ones that are non-compliant, are they gonna come back to us with?
Jane, I don't know if you have any guidance for me on kind of the process considerations there, and if not, we should follow up with the commission members accordingly.
Yeah, it will get a little bit dependent on each case, because there is the non-conforming clause in your sign ordinance. So it will depend on when they were installed based off of the date. If they ever got an approval through the building department, then they won't likely come back to this body. If they didn't receive the proper approval and the ordinance was in effect, then they will reapply and come to this body for approval. So it's not a blanket, but a case-by-case situation.
Thank you so much for that. So I know we shared the inventory, and thank you for some of you for weighing in on said inventory. But I'll make sure I have Chief and Ordinance Officer LaCourse update that, and we'll work with Jane on what's coming back versus what is not. Do you have something?
I'll add about the Family Dollar sign. I did speak with their representatives, and they were happy to work on adding some nautical components to the signage. I don't know exactly what their timeline is, but they seemed amenable to our request, so that's should be moving through the pipeline.
Awesome. That's it for me for now.
Family Dollar sign with.
They don't want to compromise their brand standards, but they feel confident that they can find some accents, nautical-themed accents, that will work with their brand standards.
I like it. That's good. Okay, we have no unfinished business. For new business, we have section A. Jane will be providing some planning and zoning basics training today.
Yes, thank you. So this is truly the basics, so it'll be a refresher for many of you. But I wanted to also serve as a jumping off point for questions and discussion. So while this is kind of a foundational presentation and the topics we'll be covering in many ways are probably things you're familiar with, if there are things you want to get into more thoroughly, please just stop me and ask questions. As I presented at the last meeting, this will be kind of the first in the series, so we will get into more depth around special land use reviews, how to look at site plans when reviewing those. But I just wanted to spend a little bit of time this evening laying the groundwork of why we're all here and just kind of a nice reminder of what our purpose is as the Planning Commission and planning officials, as well as the elected body at the city council level. So, you know, I think it's important to remember, and as we discuss some of the larger philosophical questions around what the direction Gibraltar needs to take, the reason that we plan is to really think about and anticipate potential change. I always say, even if you want to stay the same, you have to plan to stay the same. And then making sure that you're ensuring a wide use of your resources in a way that is going to be sustainable going forward. And implementing the vision that the community comes up with, and we'll get into that as we talk about the master plan, but also preserving the quality of life for the residents that are here. I really like kind of this quote from the American Planning Association is that good planning helps create communities that offer better choices for where and how people live. Planning helps communities to envision their future. It helps them find the right balance of new development and essential services, environmental protection, and innovative change. And I think that's a lot of what the Planning Commission is talking about and thinking about when they're making these decisions about what direction the community wants to go and what decisions they need to be making to reflect that. And that continues with the zoning ordinance review. And I know you recently updated the master plan. So just to keep in mind that zoning is the regulation of land use, and it's also your primary tool to implement your master plan or your vision for the community. It is law, and it's kind of that balance between what personal property rights are and what the community's rights are. So, and that's a give and take situation, and it's different in every single community. So the master plan is really that guide for the future, and that's why we do talk about it when we're thinking about land use decisions, referring back to that as our policy backbone. It gives us the ability to make those legal decisions, whether it's a rezoning, whether if it's a zoning ordinance change, even if it's a site plan approval. Within the law, we have this policy that the state has laid out in their requirements to really give you, if someone were to challenge your decision-making, that gives you the basis for your decision-making process. So you would hopefully be able to reflect back any decision that you make to the master plan and say, well, this is what the master plan kind of indicates, even if it's not explicit. You want to be thinking about that as your basis for decision making, because that should be the reflection of what the community wanted. And that's why we want to keep it up to date. We review it every 5 years. We might update it every 10 years, just to ensure that we're reflecting what the larger community wants and that we have that tool for you to make your decisions as a planning commission. And that's all laid out in the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. So that provides for us the requirements for master plans, as well as what the planning commission roles, responsibilities are, the establishment of planning commissions, and what their membership will be. That works kind of in tandem with the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, and that's the law that really provides for zoning ordinances. That's where we get our ability to regulate land use as kind of a police power, as well as having a zoning board of appeals. And that's supplemented with case law as it occurs both in the state and nationally. So that's something that I keep up on and can provide guidance on, for instance, around signage. There was a recent case at the Supreme Court that said if you are reviewing signs, I know we talked about this, you can't be reviewing the content of that sign. And that's not something that's explicitly stated in either of these state acts, but we know because the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on this that that's something that we need to be abiding by. Looking at kind of everyone's roles and responsibilities within the planning and zoning team, the planning commission obviously is appointed by the city council, who's the true reflection and representation of the community as elected officials. So the planning commission, while somewhat autonomous, is also kind of responsible to the city council and therefore the larger electorate. The planning commission is, as you know, reviewing site plans, is in charge of updating the master plan, providing zoning ordinance recommendations, and hopefully doing an annual report. That's something that's laid out in the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. It's both a work plan for the year to come as well as what has been done in the previous year. That's something that I'd like to start working with you all on, just so that there's goals and you're implementing that master plan with, okay, this is the year we're going to do this project. And right now we're going through a major zoning ordinance rewrite, so that's a big project, but it can be small pieces as well. These trainings are a great example, could be part of that work plan. The Zoning Board of Appeals, while the Planning Commission does have legal authority in terms of enforcing the zoning ordinance and making those decisions and site plan reviews, the Zoning Board of Appeals is more of a legal body than a policy body. The Planning Commission kind of wears both hats, and they are, especially all of their decisions have to be backed up with finding of fact, because they are quasi-judicial decision makers. So that any decision that's made at the Zoning Board of Appeals can be brought to court. And at that point, that's just something to keep in mind, is that you really want to be tight with your decision-making process if you're on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And the City Council is obviously overseeing the policy component, as well as setting the budget, the fees, and appointing the right people to each of these bodies.
Jane, can you mentioned Planning Commission is also responsible for enforcing. Can you define that a little bit better?
Enforcing the zoning ordinance, so when you're making decisions, it really should be to what the zoning ordinance says. I think that can be difficult a lot of times, where it feels like, well, we want to be lenient or we want to provide this flexibility, and that's where you can build in flexibility into your zoning ordinance. So say the Planning Commission can provide waivers for landscaping requirements, but unless you really have that built-in flexibility, you really should be enforcing the zoning ordinance to a T. So if someone comes here, I know we see a lot of signs, and I know we have a particular way of reviewing signs, but really what it should be is saying, you don't meet the zoning ordinance, I'm sorry, go back and try again. until they meet the zoning ordinance, or we need to build into that zoning ordinance the flexibility for you to use discretion on those decisions. And there are times where there is discretion, obviously around with special land uses, there's discretion for this body to kind of make judgment calls, but that's what I mean when I say enforcing the zoning ordinance.
So if we wanted to, be a little lenient and stuff, does it still basically have to apply to what is in our master plan? In other words, would it be wrong of us to make a change if it really isn't what is in our master plan?
I would say yes. I mean, you really should be reflecting what the master plan says, unless, I'll give the caveat, like, you have a 25-year-old master plan that hasn't been updated, but that's not the case here. So I think, yes, you should be able to point back to what the master plan has said, or you should update it so that if you feel like it's not reflective of what the community wants, that it's changed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of kind of my role and how I support you, it's, at these meetings, providing reviews, meeting with applicants, talking through the process, the requirements with applicants, issuing zoning permits, even if it's not for items that come to this, if it's residential, or fence permits, things that might not be to the level of site plan review. But I'm here to, support these decisions as well as provide some of that technical expertise that then keeps things off of your docket and keeps decisions moving a little bit more quickly for residents. The Planning Commission, obviously, I feel like you all have been in this role for a while, or most of you. And it's acknowledging it's a volunteer body and that it's a great service that you provide to the community. It takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of care in your decision-making process, but having that larger vision in mind that your decisions are going to be hopefully moving forward what your master plan has laid out, what the vision of the community is kind of the foundational role of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission does have final decision-making ability. Currently, it makes decisions on uses in terms of when there are Planning Commission requirements beyond just the basic requirements. I think that's going to be changing a little bit in this revision of the zoning ordinance, but what we are defining as special land uses, even though that's not a technical term in your ordinance currently, that does fit within the Planning Commission. And then obviously the site plan reviews, I think it's important to remember too that the Planning Commission can make recommendations and have, a liaison between the ZBA and the Planning Commission so that there's an awareness on if there are cases that go to both bodies, that's not a conflict of interest. That's it's a foundational piece that can help create some consistency and that you are providing the input from the Planning Commission. And so you shouldn't necessarily recuse yourself just because you made a Planning Commission decision if you're on both boards.
I think it's a really important call out. I think two things so far beyond the broader information you've shared. One is I love the annual report proposal and defining priorities. And I know I've shared with this commission our council priorities that have been clearly defined, but I'd love to see the evolution of that annual report. I think it'd be really helpful. To your point there, Jane, with Nick serving on both ZBA and this commission, and with Rick serving on council in this commission, maybe something to think about on the model of how we do two-way information sharing with the broader commission members, especially because, Nick, you're navigating topics that seem to be reoccurring and would have relevance to this, site plan / zoning ordinance enforcement responsibility. And then I know Rick gives updates from this body to council, but, making sure we're just doing the two-way street there, I think would be helpful.
Yeah. I think that's really important, and then it also doesn't create surprises, to your point, right? Is like when a decision gets to city council, you've been keeping them aware of what's coming from Planning Commission. Same goes with ZBA. We haven't had, at least in my time, a lot of crossover cases between Planning Commission and ZBA, but that does happen. And to hear from those boards at this commission as well, maybe it's a standing, just quick update if you have anything. That can be a cross-pollination that's really helpful. So the zoning ordinance is the responsibility of the planning commission to make sure you are adopting, but really it's going to become law, so you're recommending to the city council. So it has to be vetted through you, you're the experts, and nothing will go forward to the city council without your recommendation. Obviously, that's the foundation of all of the land use regulation that you're gonna see going forward, so that's why you wanna make sure you've vetted it and it's representative of what you wanna see in terms of requirements. Getting a little bit more into the master plan, as is required by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. This is truly intended to be a comprehensive plan. Oftentimes, I think we focus on the land use component, and historically, that's really been the part that most communities have really looked at and updated. But the State Enabling Act really wants it to include recreation, facilities, what the community's infrastructure is, what the roads are, the housing component. So looking at all of these pieces, how they work together, and I think this commission has done a really good job of raising that kind of awareness on even land use questions when it comes to, well, how is this going to support our tax base? What's going to be the implication on our services? What's the cost going to be to the infrastructure? So the master plan is really supposed to kind of lay out how all of those pieces work together. And as we, move forward, those are things that if we feel like are not sufficient, we can always go back and also fine tune them. So it's not supposed to be a stagnant document. It doesn't have to be every 5 years that we look at it. We can look at pieces of it and amend as this body sees fit. The adoption of the master plan, I know you went through this process recently, so this is probably within your memory. But I want to just kind of highlight that the idea is that we're projecting 20 years into the future, especially with land use and infrastructure. The actual process of adopting amendment to your master plan is less onerous than a full master plan, so the state does want you to look at that and do an amendment or an update at least every 5 years, but they intentionally make it a little bit easier to amend the master plan so that it can be a living document. It really should look at everything from how to lessen congestion on the streets, how to provide safe movement for pedestrians, bicyclists, how to provide safety from fire between buildings, the light and air access, the arrangement kind of good civic design and how your public spaces are used, as well as how that works with your recreation programs and then the public utilities, which I know the infrastructure here has been a big investment and focus recently. So as we move forward, these are things that I'd like us to think about on the annual plan and revisit if necessary. I'm not going to focus too much on the technicalities of when we have to publish notices and intent to draft or amend the master plan. It is something that is supposed to be coordinated with your surrounding communities, so that's part of that requirement. You send a notice to all of your surrounding communities, and so hopefully you're planning in coordination, or at least not in conflict to one another, as well as the county and any railroads, public utility providers. We want to make sure that everyone is aware of any changes that might affect them, as well as obviously all of the residents should be integral to that process. We talked a little bit about the planning and zoning tools, especially with the master plan. I think not mentioned here is also the importance of your DDA plan. And you have the DDA that has their own plan, they have their own goals and objectives. I think a lot of times you see it very disconnected from the rest of the city or from the master plan. I think you have the benefit of the fact that your planning commission is also seated as your DDA board. And so those can be more coordinated and hopefully work together to really achieve those goals. But I guess don't forget about the goals of the DDA as well as the master plan, and hopefully your master plan has integrated those goals as well. And then thinking just about how the zoning ordinance, and we'll get into this more as we talk about the revisions and rewrite of that, it's, you know, it's there to be able to be utilized by everyone, and really hopefully ensure I don't want to say uniform, but that's oftentimes what the term is, growth in something that is predictable. So it's not going to be, you're not going to get surprises. I think making sure that you're not just reactive. I know, like, okay, someone wants a horse stable. Now we're looking at a horse stable ordinance. We want to predict some of those things. And horse stables, maybe you're not going to predict, but some of those other things that you hopefully can have things on the books when someone comes to you and you can say, okay, sure, but we want you to do X, Y, and Z and meet these requirements. So,
Definitely would have lost the bet on the horse stable one.
yeah, that one, I don't know if I
But
would
it
have.
happened, so.
But that's really the key is like, yes, it's law, but it's also public policy, and it's a guidebook for you to give developers, residents, people who want to invest in the community, what you want to see from them. It's a two-way street. So they can come to you and say, I want to be able to do this, but you can say, great, but we want to see you do this. And if you have it written down before they come to you, it's much more powerful, both legally, and you're going to be able to actually get them through the process and invest whatever their development goals are. That works, you know, with the future land use map and the zoning map. You know, the zoning map and the zoning districts are going to be much more finite. You all know this, are parcel by parcel, whereas the master plan, future land use districts tend to be broader paintbrush strokes with general ideas around what should be where, and it's not going to match naturally completely with the zoning map, but should be reflective of those pieces of the puzzle. And they're all working together, hopefully, to reduce those conflicting types of land uses, as well as making sure that we are providing space for the development you want to see, the community wants to see, but also what's realistic in terms of what private property owners are going to want to be able to do with their property. I continue to list some of those additional resources we talked about last time. We'll talk more about site plan review kind of in our next training and getting into the details of what we should be looking for when we're doing that. But I want to lay the foundation here and just kind of have a good reminder of why we're here and what the purpose is. So I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss further, but.
That was great, thank you. Any questions? Mary?
I would just recommend as an action item list that we circulate the master plan. That, folks, it's a very extensive document, so I fully appreciate that. But that at least the commission members have a chance in appropriate time to review in detail if they have not already. To at least focus on the high-level directional themes, so that we can make sure we're aligned to where our guiding stars are, and that we can weave it into any updates that are required over time. You could build that into your roadmap for agenda / annual reporting. So I think that'd be one action I would recommend. A second one I think is for Nick and Rick to think about the two-way model for information sharing across ZBA and council for this commission. Maybe it's just like a standing update, short and sweet. Maybe it's offline, email synopsis, just something to keep people informed, versus relying on the one-on-one, kind of interaction and conversation. So I think that's a really important one. And I think for me, it's really about just as we all continue to learn, just as you, Jane, are approaching topics with the commission members, just defining up front before the discussion happens, really what the role of our commission members are, what decision they're making in context of that topic, so that we put the right guardrails on it in context of the moment in time that we're deciding.
We have no postponed or referred items. That opens us up for commissioner forum.
I have a point to bring up about the bike crossing on South Gibraltar Road.
The one by the cannons?
Yeah, the ones, exactly. Can we either paint the lines or in some way get the right resources involved to make that bike crossing more obvious to traffic? Because I don't think a lot of the drivers that go through there realize it's a bike crossing and they need to abide by bike crossing guidelines. So,
I have had some close calls there. That might be one of those
Yes,
spots that
yes.
has like a yield to pedestrians thing, like you see in like Royal Oak or downtown Wyandotte has them now too. That might be something to consider in that spot. I think we would take that, maybe it's a recommendation to council or something like that to discuss.
yeah, I don't really know where to put that. Maybe I should have put it on the agenda, but it's not really planning and it's not really DDA because I don't think that's really DDA.
I'll take that. I know Chief is sitting in the back there, so from a Director of Public Safety perspective, we'll make sure his eyes are on that. And I know our DPW team does some sort of marking activity throughout the calendar year, so perhaps they could be of assistance. I also sit on the executive committee for SEMCOG. So as far as broader trails, greenway considerations, there might be some resources there, mid to long term, for us to consider.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else for Commissioner Forum? I sent an email to, I can't remember everybody I sent it to, but Mayor sent it out, and or I think Katie forwarded it in regards to, I'm passionate around our decision-making process and making sure that we're set up for success and having the right data mindset prior to making those decisions. When we think about, to the mayor's point and to Jane's, the 20-year plan, and then considerations of changes or things of that nature to ordinances, or allowing different type of buildings or structures to go up, or businesses, I think it's incumbent on us to understand the financial impact or potential gain in some cases to the city, because at the end of the day, a city is a business, and I think it's important for us to understand the outcome of those decisions. Example, what we discussed a month and a half ago, with apartments and things like that in certain areas, and understanding the taxation, and how that might impact the city, right? So when we get to points of making larger decisions like that, I'm gonna try to push back to make sure we have the right information so that folks understand if it's really the best decision for the city or not. That was what that email was about.
As you said that, I wanted to reflect and pose this to the commission that with larger land use changes, if we have a larger development come in, we could add the requirement that a fiscal impact analysis be done. And would be something that the time and the money and the effort would be on the applicant. It would have to be a third-party analysis, and we provide some of the base, numbers that they can understand in terms of what the infrastructure costs are, but that might be something that we should look into adding to our requirements.
And that's pretty normal in most
yeah.
communities, when you're gonna change something that can impact the city for an extended period of time. Yes, me too. Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the planning commission meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you for the training.
Well, good evening, commission members. We've already called the planning commission into order and thus adjourned. I'd like to call the Downtown Development Authority meeting into order. We've already done our Pledge of Allegiance, so Clerk Tomasic, I'll have you call roll at this time, please.
Schumate?
Here.
Baker? Bilk? Cox?
Here.
Perzone? Hutchinson?
Here.
Olson?
Here.
Hyatt? Upholzer? Wood?
Here.
Full house, so no absent members to excuse. So at this time, we'd like to turn over to public comment. Are there any members of public that wish to address the commission? We do not have any public comment at this time. I'd like to move us to the approval of agenda. Commission members in front of you, you see the approved agenda. Is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved agenda will then take us to approval of previous meeting minutes. Commission members, in your packet, you will see item A, DDA minutes of 6/17/2025. Is there a motion to approve item A, DDA minutes of 6/17/2025?
If we back up, do we need to, before we approve the agenda, which I seconded, add the documents that you sent?
No, I'm just going to reference those in the DDA director report
Got
this
it,
evening.
cool, thank you.
Yep. Is there a motion to approve the DDA minutes of 6/17/2025?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Is there support? Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? At this time, I'd also like to turn you to acknowledgement of correspondence. We have item A, which is full year 2025-2026 DDA budget as of 7/10/2025. I just want to kind of call out the background and history here. We've had discussions with the commission members related to the importance of tracking key projects, advancing those projects, and understanding the financial elements of those projects and how that relates to our spend and specifically the bond allocation that we're utilizing. I want to give a big shout out to our Finance Director McEwen and all the members of council, even as recent as last night, and to this commission. We're making a lot of great strides on the projects. For those that are tuning into council members, I won't go into redundancy other than to say we're moving the needle across many of these major projects. And you'll see in your packet the blue highlights from some of the bigger ticket projects. At the end of the day, you're using a lot of the funds that we have allocated in the bond. And as you see from Finance Director McEwen, our bond target deadline for spending that allocation is May 31st of 2026. And if you use the base amounts that you see here highlighted in blue for some of these key projects, we'll have $380,833 remaining, keeping in mind that many of those projects are still in flight and will still be advancing. So just want to commend the team. Special shout out to John Sant and all the members that have made these possible, but we're moving the needle on these projects. So with that being said, just to make sure you had the background, I'd like you to have a motion to receive and file the full year 2025-2026 DDA budget as of 7/10/2025.
Do we, one quick question about the.
Absolutely.
The bond. Is that like, I remember when we discussed this and we approved the 8 items, is there a capability to add if there's additional funds left over? Or are we allocated the way that you just explained it? It sounded like that was.
The headline is we are going to spend that money with the projects listed, so there won't be any remaining funds. But the tactical answer to your question is that the bond has guardrails on what we can apply it to. We were very methodical when we approached this commission and council with the prioritization. And we feel like this prioritization not only will be leading to us spending every penny of that, we'll have to pull from other sources to complete the projects.
Got it. Motion to receive and file.
A motion to receive and file from Chair Hutchinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this matter? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? At this time, we will look at the next item on the agenda, which is unfinished business, for which we do not have any. So with that, I would like to take us to new business. This is a request as described on the agenda from Police Chief Bullard, Director of Public Safety Bullard, for a bid award recommendation for the camera system for City Municipal Building, DPW Building, and Gibraltar Community Center. Chief, you want to come join me up here? Just for a starting point, obviously you have a lot of information in your packet, and you've also received some questions that were posed by the commission. Thank you from methodical minds in asking those questions. I know Chief provided responses, but we're here to make sure you get the information you need as you consider this item. Anything you want to say, Chief?
Yes. Good evening, DDA members. You're in my chair, John.
Yeah, I'll keep it warm for you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair. I do have a proposed action for the DDA, but I'd like to give a history and purpose and explanation for my action item. So that being said, as far as the history for the camera proposal that you can see in your packets, The City of Gibraltar currently operates with 2 separate surveillance camera systems across the municipal buildings and community center. Unfortunately, a third system has failed in dispatch and is no longer functional, which is a 2004 OpenEye system. The fragmented setup creates operational inefficiencies, technical limitations, and increased maintenance challenges. In 2022, the police department installed a separate system and camera known as the DW Spectrum by Nomex Technologies. Since the installation, the system has experienced technical difficulties, including the failure of the south rear quad camera and the booking hallway. Additionally, the department encountered difficulties in receiving maintenance and support from the vendor, further limiting its functionality. The Department of Public Works currently does not have any cameras, and the community center utilizes a system called the Railink, which is several of the cameras are not functioning, specifically 9. On January 21st, 2025, the Downriver Development Authority voted unanimously to authorize the city to solicit a request for proposals for a new camera system to serve all the city buildings. I developed the specifications for the proposed citywide camera system, and Clerk Tomasic posted the bid-specific solicitations on BidNet. And they were due by June 11th, and the city received a total of 8 proposals. The most responsive bid was submitted by Actron Systems in Lincoln Park in the amount of $116,609.15, as the proposal met all the bid requirements and specifications outlined in the RFP. All previous cameras purchased from the DR Sound or Nomex Technologies will be repurposed minus 6 to 7 due to not being compatible with the new system. So the purpose. My objective is to consolidate all the city cameras into one unified platform utilizing the latest in technology. The police department is already familiar with the Avigilon camera system as it's currently used in dispatch by the Gibraltar School District facilities, including Parsons, Shoemate, Carlson. This system has proven effective and has been successfully used to support and investigate several police investigations. To ensure the safety and security of the city-owned facilities, the City of Gibraltar recognizes the need for a comprehensive and unified system, utilizing the latest in technology. I have conducted extensive research into the available solutions and strongly recommend the adoption of the Avigilon camera system. My explanation. After experiencing multiple issues with the outdated, inoperable OpenEye camera system, Nomex Technologies, and the community center cameras, I proactively reached out to Actron Systems, a reputable vendor located in Lincoln Park. Actron cameras came highly recommended by numerous police departments and municipalities, including Brownstown, Romulus, Westland, Woodhaven, and Flat Rock. The company also provided access control solutions for the Rockwood and 33rd District Court. As part of their commitment to their service, Actron Systems offered the City of Gibraltar a no-cost demonstration during which they installed a new recorder, several state-of-the-art cameras. Additionally, they converted the existing non-operational OpenEye camera system from 2004 into the new demo system, revitalizing older infrastructure. The demo system featuring the Avigilon platform has proven to be flawless, delivering high-quality video and seamless performance and exceptional reliability. I recommend expanding this platform into all city municipal buildings, the DPW and community center. So I do have one action item. My request is for the DDA funding to purchase the Avigilon camera system for the city municipal building, the Department of Public Works, and the community center in the amount of $116,609.15 from the vendor Actron Systems.
Is that for both community centers, the Cook Center?
Just the Gil Talbert, not the Cook Community Center. But the system does have the ability to add on cameras.
Okay.
So like every year, my goal or objective is
Add
to
on,
add 3
yeah.
cameras or 4 cameras.
But you're at the skate park.
I'm sorry?
You've got one out at the skate park.
The one at the skate park we do, but it's a dummy.
Oh, is it?
Yes. being transparent.
Okay.
But in
How's
this
that
quote,
work?
we will have a camera at the skate park,
This quote, yeah.
as well as all three pavilions at the community center.
Yeah, the real links are, if they're similar to what I have, they're consumer cameras. They're really not commercial grade.
9 are currently down at the community center.
Will you have direct link to the cameras in the school system?
We do.
Cool.
So how do you utilize them? If there's an issue, you go back and look at the film, or you don't
We've
look at it
utilized
live,
to solve several crimes over the years. An example, we solved a breaking and entering of the gas station utilizing the Boblo Island Pavilion camera. We got the suspect on camera.
And how long do you store that data?
It's normally on a loop of 30 days. There's the opportunity to expand on the NVR, which is the recording system, but then you would have to upgrade the unit. In my proposal, I'm asking for 2. There'll be an NVR at the community center, and there'll be an NVR in the server room in the basement of this building.
Does it send the data to cloud storage? Do we pay like a fee to store it for longer? than
It's
30?
not on cloud, it's on a recorder.
Closed platform?
Yep,
Okay.
closed platform, the NVR,
So it's private.
So can you bring all the cameras up on one screen?
on one screen.
One screen.
They're kind of hard to see when you, I mean, I'm proposing 42 cameras with like 9
Need a bigger
existing.
screen.
But yes, it's little squares, but you know, you can pull up 1 camera, you can pull up 5 cameras, you can pull up 20 cameras. But you have the ability, there's different tabs on the Avigilon system. So you can categorize what cameras you want in each tab. For example, Parson cameras on one tab, Shoemake cameras on one tab, Community Center on one tab, Gibraltar Police Department on one tab. So it's a good system.
So it alerts whoever's monitoring this.
It has several filters. You could set it up. It has the artificial intelligence technology. I can put your face into the system and request anyone that looks like you, and 20 people could pop up walking in the front door.
So can you upgrade that artificial intelligence? Let's say you go with what's available today, then a couple months from now, there's more available.
I would assume that there's updates. Obviously, we have 24 hours, 7-day support.
Yeah.
So
Do you have to update it, or do the
I would hope it's automatically updated.
automatically updated? Okay.
So.
Just a couple comments from my end. Chief, I thought you summarized it perfectly. To Commissioner Bilk's point, it's not just about the Department of Public Safety utilization in context of crime solving or monitoring the community and keeping us safe. There's a broader security element of this for our city hall and the applicable buildings, for our DPW and all the expensive equipment and materials we house over there. We're sitting with a system that is, in some cases, inoperable for some of those cameras. We've spent about $40,000 since 2019 and throwing, in my opinion, bad money at our current deficient system. We're trying to bring everything up to the best technology that sets us up for the future and centralize a cohesive set of technology where possible. And I think Chief's put forth a perfect solution for those reasons. So just want to add that color if you agree.
Thank you. I do agree.
I would just recommend when you do get the final contract and sign it, make sure they have their, in there on the warranty and their service contract, because, you know, the rep will go, and then next year someone new will come in and we'll have an issue. They say, well, I don't see it in the contract. And not to say they're like that, but I come from automotive, it happens all the time. So it's something you really want to make sure you lock down.
Per our conversation, I will follow up with that, and it will be in stone in the contract, so absolutely.
Just to protect everybody.
So where are the budgets at right now with, this will come out of capital improvements, right? This would be capital improvements, so it'll drop us to like 113,000, not including the, so we're at 228, 860, we'd go down to like 113. Okay, not including like music in the park and all that, so we'll be at like 100 grand left for other stuff. Just making that transparent for the rest of the,
Are the outside cameras
Team.
vandal resistant?
I'm sorry?
Vandal resistant?
Well, they're gonna be up pretty high on most of the buildings, so, they do have glass globes, some are plastic, I don't know the material, but
And these are the same,
Hopefully we catch them on camera. And they're gonna pay for it.
and they can buy a new camera.
They can buy a new camera, absolutely. So, they can explain that to the judge.
Right.
So,
It's funny.
Well, they're insured for that stuff though, right?
There is
I
a
mean, if you
warrant.
don't catch the guy busting it,
Yes, we'll get it replaced.
And this is,
no.
I think you said it, but this is the same system that's at Carlson and Shoemay.
Correct.
And
And
Parsons.
we've utilized it for about 5 years and it's flawless.
Yeah.
So,
And this 5, I think you asked in the email, this 5% does not apply.
Right.
Okay.
that's correct. It's
number
not
is-
applied.
All right.
I don't know how I did it, but it's not applied. So,
Well done. The motion he's looking for is to authorize the purchase of this camera system in the amount of $116,609.15.
I make
Make-
that motion.
Yeah, a second.
Motion by Wood, we have a second. Any further discussion on this matter? Chief, just thank you and all the parties that came together to make this possible. And with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have your direction to pursue our new camera system. Thank you so much.
thank you all very much. I put a lot of work into this and I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to working with Actron Systems. And thank you again.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you
You
all.
did a good job, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one more question. If they ever utilize the property that we bought for the DPW yard there on Jefferson, will they be able to expand it?
Absolutely. Like an example, the 2 pavilions at the community center are gonna be Wi-Fi cameras. So the cameras are smarter than I am, so the technology is there.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, have a good night, thank you.
Okay.
Commission members, that brings us to our DDA Director's Report. Just a few things I want to flag further, and we can open up discussion as you see fit. No action required on any of these items. Number one is, I know we've had some dialogue, and Chair Hutchinson, thank you for bringing it up, around fiscal impact assessments in context of the trajectory decisions you're making. With that being said, hopefully everybody saw my email via Clerk Tomasic. As a first step, just for data awareness, in your inbox, you will have the top 30 taxpayers in the city of Gibraltar, obviously a combination of commercial, industrial, and in one case, I believe, a resident. Then you have the broader tax assessment values of all of our commercial industrial properties. Both documents were shared with you, so you can start to kind of peruse the data around those two documents. It'll show you where the top 30 is concentrated and the money that's coming in. Now, keep in mind, those dollar amounts, we don't get that full amount. And I detailed this in my email. I want to flag that to you, right? There's other ways that that tax dollar ultimately lands. But I want to give you that perspective. And then the broader assessment values is directly from our assessor, so you can see how current properties and businesses are currently assessed from a valuation perspective. Why am I bringing this up? And then I'll get to you, Commissioner Baker. We're working as an administration to really deep dive and dissect this information and work with our assessor to make sure that the information is accurate, up to date, and positioning the city and thus all of the decisions you make in a fair, balanced trajectory. When we think about that, I would like to be able to provide another update for you at your next month's meeting. So just giving you the data so you can peruse at your convenience. If you have any questions, if anything pops out of interest to you, always reach out. But just know that we're working on it with the assessor, finance director, and myself and other parties to really deep dive on this topic and make sure that everything is up to date where it needs to be and we're positioned for success in the future. So I'll stop there. Commissioner Baker, you had a question?
Yeah, on the top 30 list, is it possible on the future list, I mean, because some of these are obvious, but others, we don't know what they do. So, and this way, we have like a guide that if a similar business is attempting to come to town, hopefully we can kind of like match things. Because right now, about half of these, okay, we really don't know what they do, at least I don't, so.
Spot on. So I'll take that as an action, which is a more general description of the application so that you can code that to what's on your file.
And I was asking Garrett, talking earlier, that, if we could get it laid out as like, how is it taxes paid by zoning? So if you're R1, what percentage of the city taxes come from R1? What comes from R2? What comes from M2? And see how the city's divvied up. Is 60% of the tax base revenue from R1, or does it come from industrial? right? You, just in a big view to see, which would help guide us what makes sense for the city too.
Love that. So we're working on both. I want to just plant the seed with you on some data. We're all over it, and we'll provide updates August on what we find and what that means directionally for the administration. Any further questions on that topic?
So as you're investigating the current taxable assessed value, there may be some instances where, well, you'll have to come up with a plan of execution if there's changes to be made, but I guess in some ways you could say, assuming that some taxes would increase and then some could potentially decrease if there's anomalies in the way that they were assessed prior.
We'll let the data talk.
Well, there's limits too, right? Even if it was assessed incorrectly over
There's probably
the
law-
years.
yeah, there's probably
you may be able
laws
to raise
against
the assessment, but the tax value, I don't think you could just jump it.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances that I will make sure I update the commission succinctly on. I just want to make sure that we take the insights from this commission seriously,
Yeah.
and we will pull through on them. And
Yeah.
that is one insight that we are pulling through on actively.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot on that one.
I'm excited about it. Data talks. This is, in my opinion, this is data,
Yep,
and
it is.
it's a
It's
broader
not-
topic. So, what a great segue to number 2, which is I want to just thank Clerk Tomasic more broadly. In my opinion, personally, in my role here, I think she's done a phenomenal job in the communication with the community. For those that are using our City of Gibraltar Facebook page, the website that she's done a phenomenal job on, and all the broader communication that goes out to this community. Why am I bringing that up? And why am I bringing that up after the tax discussion? Because she recently posted about our taxes. And I think it's really important, especially for our commission members, to not only take what is topic number 1 of taxable values and what they pay and where that payment goes, but to take number 2, which is what are our taxes and where are they going? I know we talk a lot about this. We dissect this immensely from a council perspective. We approve budgets and go through this exhaustively, but just want to kind of bring that up in context for everybody's reference that Clerk Tomasic put a beautiful breakdown, obviously in partnership with Finance Director McEwen, around our taxes and where they go. And I encourage everybody to take a look at that. I've also gotten some discussions with our community going around, well, how do we balance the tax burden for the trajectory of our community? And obviously that's a very relevant topic that we just talked about, and the decisions you make and how we think about the future trajectory. But I want to make sure I reinforce, because I brought it up last time, that in the last 2 budget cycles, we've dropped our millage. So the city is not putting any taxes on the residents independently. Consumer retail index and inflation, which is out of our hands, requires up to a 5% raise in annual taxes. That's law. The city of Gibraltar has no say in that matter. But from a council perspective, and obviously from this commission perspective, we're trying to be very responsible financially. And if you watch the 2 budget cycles, we've dropped that millage rate 2 years in a row. So I just want to bring that context up. If everybody has questions about taxes in the broader context, I want to make sure you have that information. The last one, I'm going to look over to my left here because Patrick and I had a discussion coming out of one of our meetings. It kind of relates to the sign discussion I brought up for you all. So in regards to enforcement and ordinance enforcement specifically, obviously, Jane, thank you for the overview today in planning and the partnership we have and your role in that and the commission members' role in it. But one thing that I called out was, in my vantage point, in the last year and a half plus that I've been in my seat and learning every single day, I feel like it's a challenging system where locally our enforcement may lose teeth as it escalates up the ladder into court systems. And that's my very kind way of putting that. But it doesn't mean that we're not looking at ways to intervene and to get more teeth locally so that people are abiding by our zoning ordinances and the expectations of our community. And so there's going to be some follow-up discussions that I'm going to be pulling you into. We've already done some inventory taking. Chief Bullard, obviously, is our Director of Public Safety. Ordinance Officer LaCourse is somebody who's out there doing just that each and every day. And I'm going to pull in a couple commission members, if you're interested, that want to sit on that discussion. The goal is, you all are doing great work. We're updating archaic zoning ordinance language. You're making decisions that are sound for the trajectory of the community. You're tying into fiscal impact. But we got to have teeth locally to enforce what we're designing. And it's a challenge. And I'm going to be blunt with that. And so I want to put our heads together to say the concept is, how do we get more teeth locally, even though we can't control once it leaves our rung of the ladder? And that's the goal. And I want to leave that seed with you. With that being said, my only ask is, I'm going to bring Patrick along. Is there any other commission members that have an appetite to join that journey with Patrick and I and other parties.
Well, I'd like
Everybody
to,
at
it
once.
just depends on when you're gonna meet.
Okay, so we'll be flexible. I'll count you in, Commissioner Baker. Because I want,
Depends on when we're gonna meet.
appreciate you volunteering. But it's going to be, I think it's a really important parallel path for us and Jane, and we can obviously tie that to the annual report and kind of strategic priorities, which is if we're going to do all this great work, we got to have teeth locally to enforce it. Otherwise, we're losing a lot of ground in the great work we're doing. So enough talking for me. Those are the 3 things I want to raise from you. Any questions, topics for discussion, or other items that you want to see in future meetings?
Appreciate you digging into the tax stuff.
It's exciting. You know, we're getting a lot of insights, and Rick and I can live that journey together. And the inventory's been large, and what we're dissecting and what we're finding and how we're trying to tackle it. And I'm trying to be transparent with you all. I share my strategic priority list with council and you all to make sure you know where we're tracking, what we're doing, where we're trying to tackle. And this is another thing to add to the list. So we're excited about it. Any other questions, comments, things you want to see in future meetings? Well, I think it might be time to go home with you and yours. So with that, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn since we have no tabled and referred items.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a great night. Thank you.
Clear for takeoff.
Was it a surprise?